The metal walls of Omega-7 space station gleamed under bright lights as aliens of every shape and color filled the grand meeting hall. The Galactic Council was meeting today, and everyone knew why. Earth, the small blue planet with its strange, two-legged creatures, wanted to join their group. James Sullivan stood near the entrance, running his hand through his gray hair. His Navy uniform had the Earth symbol on it, and his boots made soft sounds on the floor. He looked around at all the different aliens. Some were tall and skinny, others short and wide. Some had fur, others had scales or feathers. But all of them were staring at him. A large alien pushed through the crowd. This was Thexkar, the ambassador from the Krilox Empire. His red skin looked like leather and his eyes were bright yellow. Sharp teeth filled his mouth when he spoke. "Look at this," Thexkar said loudly. "Earth sends a single human to represent their world. Where are your great warriors, your mighty machines?" James smiled calmly. "We believe in making friends, not showing weapons," he said. Many aliens laughed at this. To them, friendship was something only weak races believed in. "And what did you bring as proof of your power?" asked a tall alien with blue skin. "All races must show their strength before joining." "I brought Ranger," James said simply. The hall went quiet for a moment, then more laughter filled the room. Some aliens pointed at the doorway where a large brown and black dog walked in. Ranger had thick fur and pointed ears. His tail wagged as he looked around at all the strange smells and sounds. "That?" Thexkar roared. "That is your proof of Earth's power? A small, furry creature that follows you like a slave?" "Ranger is my friend," James said. "On Earth we call dogs man's best friend." "Friend?" The Krilox ambassador shook his massive head. "You domesticate animals? You turn predators into pets? This shows how weak Earth is." Other aliens nodded and made similar sounds of agreement. To them, any creature that served another was beneath notice. "The Krilox Empire has the strongest warriors in the galaxy," Thexkar continued. "We breed the Voxanathi, true predators who have never lost a hunt. They fear no enemy and serve no master." A screen behind the ambassador lit up. It showed a massive creature with dark purple skin. Its hide looked like broken glass, hard and sharp. The beast had 6 legs, each ending in terrible claws. Its mouth opened to show rows of teeth, each one longer than a human finger. "This is a Voxanathi," Thexkar said proudly. 7 feet tall at the shoulder, skin harder than military armor, teeth that can pierce starship hulls. They hunt in the worst places in our galaxy and kill whatever they want. The other aliens made sounds of respect and fear. Even races that usually hated the Krilox agreed that the Voxanathi were terrifying. Ranger sat next to James, looking up at the big screen. His head tilted slightly, the way dogs do when they see something interesting. "Your creature there," a green alien with multiple eyes spoke up. "It looks ordinary. What can it do?" James knelt down and scratched behind Ranger's ears. The dog's tail thumped against the floor happily. "Ranger is a German shepherd," James explained. "On Earth we have animals called wolves. They're the top predators in their homes. We humans found them dangerous, so we made friends with them instead of fighting them." "You made friends with predators?" asked a small alien with wings. "How?" "Over many thousands of years we bred the friendliest wolves. We gave them food and shelter. In return they protected us and helped us hunt. Eventually they became dogs, creatures who love humans as much as their own pack." Thexkar laughed again. "So you admit it. You turned a predator into a slave. This proves Earth has no real strength." The Galactic Council leader, an ancient being covered in glowing patterns, raised a hand for silence. "Ambassador Thexkar," the leader said in a deep voice, "you claim your Voxanathi are the ultimate predators. The humans claim their companion is special. Perhaps we should test these claims." The hall buzzed with excitement. A contest between species was always interesting. "I accept," Thexkar growled. "My Voxanathi will show everyone what a real predator is. When it destroys this Earthling's pet, no one will question who the strongest warriors are." James stood up, slowly. He looked at Ranger, then at the alien faces watching them. "If that's what it takes to join your council," he said, "then Ranger and I accept your challenge." The other aliens began talking loudly. Some were placing bets. Most bet against Earth. After all, how could a domesticated pet compete with the Yar, Galaxy's most feared predator? Thexakar moved closer to James. His hot breath smelled like metal. "When my Voxanathi finishes with your dog," he whispered, "everyone will know that Earth has no place among the stars." James just smiled. He knew something about Earth's dogs that these aliens didn't understand yet. He had seen wolves hunt in packs. He knew how they worked together, how they took down prey much bigger than themselves. And Ranger? Ranger was special even among dogs. A small alien hurried forward with notepads and electronic devices. "The hunt will be held tomorrow on Nexus 4, the mining planet with the testing domes. Who bets the Voxanathi will win in under 5 minutes?" Many hands and claws raised up. "Who bets 10 minutes?" More hands rose. "Is there anyone who thinks the Earth creature will survive longer than that?" The hall fell quiet. No one raised their hand. James patted Ranger's head. "I think they're underestimating you, boy," he said softly. Ranger wagged his tail and gave a happy bark. The sound echoed in the meeting hall. To the aliens, it seemed like such a weak, small noise compared to the roars of their predators. But James knew better. He knew that bark was about to change everything the galaxy thought about Earth. As the meeting ended and aliens went to their ships to prepare for tomorrow's show, James walked out with Ranger at his side. Amy Parker, one of his officers, hurried to catch up with them. "Sir," she said worriedly, "are you sure about this? A Voxanathi isn't like anything we've seen before. Maybe we should back out while we can." James stopped and turned to face her. "Amy, do you know why humans became the top species on Earth?" She shook her head. "Because we didn't fight what we couldn't beat. We made alliances. We turned enemies into friends. We looked at wolves, predators that could kill us, and decided to make them our partners instead of our prey." He looked down at Ranger, who was watching them both with intelligent brown eyes. "Tomorrow, the galaxy learns what it means when humans say a dog is man's best friend. And maybe they'll start to understand why the most dangerous thing in the universe isn't a creature that hunts alone. It's a creature that hunts with us." The stars twinkled outside the station's windows as they walked to their ship. None of the aliens knew it yet, but tomorrow would be the day everything changed. Tomorrow would be the day they learned to fear Earth's pets. The next morning, dozens of alien ships surrounded Nexus 4. The abandoned mining planet had huge clear domes built by scientists long ago. These domes created perfect hunting grounds with forests, mountains, and rivers inside them. Today, they would host the strangest contest the galaxy had ever seen. James stood on a platform with other humans from his crew. Below them, Ranger sat calmly, his ears perked up as he watched workers prepare the dome. Amy Parker stood next to James, her hands gripping the railing. "Are you sure we can't call this off?" she asked one more time. James shook his head. "If we back down now, Earth will never be taken seriously. The galaxy runs on strength, Amy. Today we show them that humans understand strength in ways they don't." Across the platform, Thexkar stood with several other Krilox warriors. They were huge aliens, all red skin and sharp teeth. Between them, a large metal cage rumbled and shook. Inside, something moved that made scratching sounds against the metal bars. The Galactic Council leader, floating in a purple cloud above everyone, spoke through the station's speakers. "Today's contest will test which species truly understands predators. The Krilox Voxanathi versus Earth's companion animal." More scratching came from the cage. The Krilox guard stepped back carefully. "Thexkar," the council leader continued, "please present your champion." The ambassador smiled, showing all his sharp teeth. "Bring out Korvath," he commanded. The cage door opened slowly. First came a massive paw with claws as long as kitchen knives. Then a head pushed out, covered in purple scales that shined like broken glass. Yellow eyes scanned the crowd as the creature stepped fully into view. The Voxanathi was bigger than they had shown in pictures. Its shoulders stood 7 feet tall, its body stretching back 10 feet. 6 powerful legs ending in curved talons scraped the metal platform. Its mouth opened, revealing teeth that glowed slightly in the light. Many aliens stepped back. Some made sounds of fear or respect. The Vox Nathi's presence filled the air with a feeling of danger. Even standing still, it looked ready to kill. Korvath has hunted on 17 different worlds, Thexkar announced proudly. He has killed creatures that your databases can't even name. In 3 years of hunting, he has never failed to bring down his prey. The Vox Nathi turned its head toward James and Ranger, its yellow eyes locked on the dog. Ranger stared back, his tail no longer wagging but still, his body tense, but not afraid. And now, the council leader said, the representative from Earth. Many aliens snickered. Some were already waving tickets for their bets. The betting aliens had started a countdown clock showing 5 minutes, the longest anyone thought the dog would survive. James walked to the edge of the platform. He knelt down beside Ranger and spoke quietly so only his dog could hear. Remember what I taught you about wolves, boy. You carry their blood. Trust your instincts. He stood up and looked at the crowd. I present Ranger, a German shepherd from Earth. The dog stood and took a few steps forward. At 90 pounds, he was less than half the Vox Nathi's size. His brown and black fur looked ordinary compared to the alien's gleaming scales. His normal panting seemed silly compared to the predator's quiet snarls. Is this some kind of joke? Shouted an alien from the crowd. That creature isn't even trying to look fierce. Earth wastes the council's time, another added. Thexkar raised his voice. This proves what I said yesterday. Earth has no real predators. They turn their hunters into pets that beg for food scraps. James remained calm. We'll see who begs when this is over. The council leader continued the ceremony. The rules are simple. Both predators enter the dome. One remains inside. The other does not. There are no other rules. Holographic screens appeared above the platform, showing the inside of the dome, from different angles. The habitat inside had forests, rocky hills, and a stream running through the center. Places to hide, places to climb, places to trap or be trapped. Competitors, the council leader called out. Prepare to enter. Hover platforms lowered from the dome's entrance. The Vox Nathi moved toward one without hesitation, its claws clicking on the metal. But Ranger hesitated, looking back at James. James knelt again. Listen, boy. Remember when we practiced tracking in the woods? Remember how you find the squirrels even when they hide? This is like that, but bigger. Ranger wagged his tail once, then walked to his platform. As both animals rose, toward the dome entrance, James heard alien voices around him. 50 credits says the Vox Nathi kills it in 3 minutes. 40 that it's over in 2. Has anyone taken the bet that the dog runs away immediately? James clenched his fists. He knew none of these aliens understood Earth dogs. They saw the wagging tail and thought it meant weakness. They saw the friendly face and thought it meant no killer instinct. But James knew what wolves could do. He knew what thousands of years of hunting with humans had created. As the platforms moved, Thexkar shouted across the space. When that dome seals, your pet will learn what real fear is. The platforms reached the dome entrance. Large green lights above each animal turned to yellow. Competitors will enter on my signal, the council leader announced. Begin hunt in 3, 2, 1. The lights turned red. Both predators stepped into the dome. The entrance sealed behind them with a soft hiss. Inside, Korvath raised his head and let out a roar that shook the walls. Outside, every alien could feel it through the speakers. Ranger sniffed the air, his head lowering slightly. He began to circle, not running forward like a simple animal might. His movements were careful, calculated. He was reading the environment, learning the smells, studying his hunting ground. The Vox Nathi started forward with confidence. Every step crushed plants beneath its massive weight. It had hunted this way 1,000 times. Find prey, chase prey, kill prey. Simple and certain. But Ranger did something different. Instead of facing the challenge directly, he melted into the shadows of the artificial forest. Within seconds, he disappeared from view on most of the cameras. "It's hiding," aliens shouted with excitement. "First blood will come soon." Dexcar turned to James with a cruel smile. "See how your brave creature runs from a real predator? Listen, hear no barking, no howling. Your pet is too afraid to even make noise." James watched the screens carefully. He saw something the aliens missed. Ranger wasn't running in fear. Every movement was purposeful. He was using the terrain, staying downwind, keeping obstacles between himself and the larger predator. This wasn't fear, this was tactics. The Voxnathi pushed through the forest, breaking branches and leaving deep tracks. It relied on its size and strength to scare prey into running. Its hunting style was about power, chase down, bite, kill, but Ranger had learned from ancestors who hunted in packs, who took down prey much larger than themselves. He had learned from humans who understood that intelligence beats strength. He was studying his enemy, learning its patterns, waiting for the right moment. On the screens, Korvath grew frustrated. Where was this tiny prey? Why wasn't it running, in panic like his usual victims? The Voxnathi began to make rumbling sounds of annoyance. James smiled for the first time since the contest began. The aliens thought Ranger was hiding in fear, but James knew better. The dog wasn't hiding, he was hunting. The other predators of the galaxy were about to learn what humans had known for thousands of years. The most dangerous hunters aren't always the ones who roar the loudest or have the sharpest teeth. Sometimes the most dangerous hunters are the ones who think, who plan, who turn their enemies' strengths into weaknesses. As the clock ticked past 1 minute, the betting aliens started to look nervous. Their 5-minute limit wasn't going the way they expected. Down in the dome, 2 predators stalked each other, one with ancient instincts, one with sharp intelligence. The real hunt had only just begun. Inside the dome, Korvath the Voxnathi stopped and sniffed the air. His yellow eyes narrowed as he scanned the trees. The small earth creature should have been easy to find. Simple prey always ran in straight lines when scared. They always made noise as they ran away. So where was this dog? The Voxnathi moved forward again, crushing small trees beneath his 6 legs. He wasn't worried. Perhaps the prey had found a good hiding spot. That was fine. Fear would drive it out soon enough, and when it ran, the real hunt would begin. 3 camera drones buzzed quietly overhead, sending pictures to the aliens watching outside. In those images, Korvath looked like death itself, a creature made for killing, moving through the forest with deadly purpose. But somewhere in the shadows, Ranger moved too. His movements were different. Light steps that barely touched the ground, using rocks and bushes for cover, always staying where the Voxnathi couldn't see him. The watching aliens grew quiet now. 5 minutes had passed. Then 10. The simple hunt they expected was turning into something else. "Why isn't the dog running?" asked a small blue alien. "All prey runs from Voxnathi." James listened to this question with a small smile. He knew why. Earth's wolves had hunted in groups for millions of years. They never ran straight at prey like the Voxnathi did. They circled. They waited. They attacked when the prey was weak or distracted. Dexcar looked at the screens with growing confusion. What is that earth animal doing? It should be running. It should be terrified. On the monitors, Korvath reached the stream in the middle of the dome. He stopped to drink, his large tongue lapping the water. For a moment, the Voxnathi relaxed his guard. This was what Ranger had been waiting for. The dog had been circling the predator for the entire time, staying downwind so his scent couldn't be detected. He had studied how the creature moved, where it looked when it relaxed. Now, while Korvath drank, Ranger made his first attack. He didn't charge forward like other hunters might. Instead, he ran parallel to the stream, using the sound of the water to hide his paw steps. When he was close, enough, he darted in fast as lightning. The German shepherd's jaws clamped onto one of the Voxnathi's middle legs. His teeth found a spot where the scales were thinner. Korvath roared in surprise more than pain. No prey had ever dared attack him. He spun around quickly, snapping with his massive jaws. But Ranger was already gone, disappearing into the tall grass. The Voxnathi stood there, stunned. His leg had a few scratches, nothing serious. But something was wrong. Prey didn't attack predators. This wasn't how hunts worked. For the first time since entering the dome, Korvath felt something new. Uncertainty. Outside, the aliens were talking excitedly. Some were pointing at the screens, others shaking their heads in disbelief. Did you see that? The small creature had actually bit the Voxnathi. That's impossible. Prey doesn't attack. Thexkar's red face had turned even darker with anger. It's just a lucky bite. One bite means nothing. Korvath will tear it apart now. But inside the dome, something was changing. The Voxnathi was now hunting differently too. He moved more, carefully checking behind trees, looking in all directions. The easy confidence was gone. Ranger struck again 15 minutes later. This time he came from above. The dog had learned to climb trees as a young pup, something James had taught him for finding squirrels. Now he used this skill to drop down, onto the Voxnathi's back. His teeth found the soft spot where the neck met the shoulder. He bit down hard, then used all his strength to twist his head, trying to tear the flesh beneath the scales. Korvath bucked and rolled, trying to shake off this annoying pest. The Voxnathi crashed into trees, trying to crush whatever was on his back. Finally, Ranger let go and rolled away before the larger creature could pin him. This bite was deeper. Blood dripped from the wound, though it was still just a small injury for such a large beast. But it was the meaning of the attack that scared the Voxnathi. This wasn't hunting like anything Korvath had experienced. Where were the roars of challenge? Where was the final, desperate fight? This Earth predator fought like something clever and cruel. It's using wolf pack tactics, James said quietly to Amy. Wolves don't try to kill large prey in one attack. They wear it down with many small bites. They attack from hiding, then retreat, then attack again. But Ranger is alone, Amy pointed out. He's alone, but he still has the instincts. 30,000 years of humans breeding the best hunters didn't remove the wolf. It just made it smarter. Another 10 minutes passed. The Voxnathi moved slowly, now jumping at every shadow. 3 more times Ranger struck. Once at the rear legs, once at the tail, once more at a different middle leg. Each attack drew blood. Each attack disappeared before Korvath could respond. The alien predator was bleeding from multiple small wounds now. Nothing serious yet, but the constant pain was wearing him down. More important was the mental effect. For the first time in his life, Korvath was being hunted. The watching crowd grew quieter with each attack. Some aliens who had bet on a quick end were looking worried. Others were watching with new interest. Thexkar stood silent, his eyes wide. At the 30-minute mark, something changed in the Voxnathi's behavior. The proud hunter who had entered the dome now moved in circles, his head turning constantly to watch for attacks. He was no longer hunting, he was defending. Ranger seemed to sense this change. His attacks became more frequent. He darted from hiding spots everywhere, behind rocks, from tall grass, out of bushes. Each time his teeth found flesh. Each time he vanished before the counterattack. By the 40-minute mark, the Voxnathi was bleeding from 8 wounds. He moved slower, favoring his bitten legs. His roars had turned from angry to frustrated, then to something that sounded almost like fear. "This is incredible," whispered a green alien wearing scientist badges. "The Earth creature is using psychological warfare. It's not just hurting the body, it's breaking the spirit." James nodded. "Dogs have been partners with humans for so long that they've learned how we fight. And humans have always known that the mind is the most important weapon." Another 20 minutes passed. The attacks continued. Ranger showed no signs of tiring, while the Voxnathi grew more exhausted with each bleeding minute. The alien predators. Breathing was heavy now. His scales were wet with blood and sweat. For the first time, cameras caught the Voxnathi doing something unthinkable. He tried to find a safe place. The ultimate predator, conqueror of 17 worlds, was looking for somewhere to hide from this small Earth animal. But the dome had no truly safe places. And Ranger knew every corner of this hunting ground now. He had studied it while the Voxanathi had charged through carelessly. Every rock, every tree, every patch of cover was part of his battle plan. As the 1-hour mark approached, even the watching Krillok's warriors looked concerned. This wasn't how Voxanathi hunted. This wasn't how predators fought. Everything they understood about hunting was being challenged by this strange Earth creature. Thexkar finally spoke, his voice shaking slightly.
How is this possible? Korvath is the perfect killer. He has never failed. James looked at the Krillok's ambassador. You breed predators to be bigger and stronger. You've made them depend on power and fear. We've made our predators smarter.
We've taught them to think, to adapt, to use anything as a weapon, even an enemy's own confidence. Inside the dome, Korvath tried one last desperate strategy. He let out a massive roar, calling out a challenge. Maybe if he could get the Earth Predator to face him directly, he could still win. But Ranger didn't take the bait. The wolf blood in him knew better than to meet a larger predator head-on when other tactics were working. Instead, he did something that amazed all the aliens. The German shepherd sat down in a clearing and howled. The sound wasn't threatening or challenging like other predator calls. It was different, haunting, lonely, and somehow full of sorrow. It sounded like a hunting pack calling home, even though he was alone. That howl did what no other attack could. It told the Voxanathi that this wasn't just another predator. This was something that understood loneliness, partnership, and fighting as part of a team. This Earth creature knew things about hunting that the galaxy's strongest predator couldn't comprehend. The hour mark passed. The contest that was supposed to end in 5 minutes continued. And now, watching through the cameras, every alien could see what James had known from the beginning. Ranger wasn't just hunting the Voxanathi. He was hunting with the intelligence of humanity, the instincts of wolves, and the calculated precision of a species that had turned its greatest enemy into its closest friend. The real question wasn't whether the dog would survive. The question was what would happen when this patient, intelligent predator decided it was time to end the hunt. Inside the dome, Korvath the Voxanathi was breathing heavily. Blood dripped from 12 different wounds across his body. His legs trembled with exhaustion. For the first time in his life, the greatest predator in the galaxy was afraid. Ranger circled him slowly now, no longer hiding in the shadows. The dog's fur was barely mussed, his breathing normal. His brown eyes watched the Voxanathi with what almost looked like pity. This wasn't a hungry predator looking at prey. This was something else entirely. The watching aliens were completely silent. Even the betting screens had stopped updating. No one had predicted this outcome. The 5-minute hunt had become an hour-long lesson in terror. Look at the Voxanathi, whispered a yellow alien with multiple eyes. He keeps turning in circles. He's trying to watch all directions at once. He's panicking, said another. I've never seen a Voxanathi panic before. Thexkar gripped the railing until his claws dug into the metal. His champion, his perfect predator, was falling apart before everyone's eyes. His red face had turned pale gray. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Inside the dome, Ranger stopped circling. He sat down about 30 feet from the Voxanathi and tilted his head. It was almost like he was studying a puzzle, trying to understand how to solve it. James smiled sadly. He's figuring out how to end this mercifully. Mercifully? Amy asked in surprise. After all this? Ranger doesn't want to kill. He's been trained to protect, not murder. But he also understands when something needs to end. Korvath made his choice then. The Voxanathi gathered what strength he had left and charged at the sitting dog. His 6 legs carried him forward in a final desperate attack. If he could just reach this small predator, his powerful jaws could end it in one bite. But Ranger had been waiting for exactly this move. He knew predators well enough to know when they became desperate. As the giant alien beast rushed toward him, the German shepherd waited until the last possible moment. Then he moved. Ranger dodged to the left, letting the Voxnathi's momentum carry him past. As the enormous predator slid by, the dog spun and jumped. His body twisted in the air, positioning himself perfectly above the Voxnathi's neck. This was the move James had taught him for dealing with large, dangerous animals. The takedown, used by police dogs and protection animals, designed to stop threats without unnecessary killing. Ranger's jaws found the back of Corvath's neck. His teeth didn't seek the jugular or spine for a death blow. Instead, they found the nerve cluster that every Earth dog seemed to know about instinctively. With a combination of pressure and precise positioning, Ranger triggered the same reaction that made prey animals go limp when caught by a predator's neck bite. The technique was simple but effective. Find the right spot. Apply pressure just so. Wait for the body to relax. Corvath's massive body stumbled, slowed, then stopped. The Voxnathi tried to shake off this predator on his back, but his body was no longer responding properly. The exhaustion, the blood loss, and now this nerve technique were too much. The galaxy's greatest predator sank to the ground. He was still conscious, still breathing, but his body had given up the fight. His yellow eyes still burned with frustration and fear. Ranger held the bite for exactly 60 seconds, long enough to establish dominance, short enough to avoid real damage. Then he released and stepped back. For a moment, both predators looked at each other, the Voxnathi on the ground, the German shepherd standing over him. What happened next shocked every alien watching. Ranger didn't roar in victory. He didn't try to harm the fallen Voxnathi further. Instead, he lay down near the exhausted predator about 10 feet away. He rested his head on his paws and simply watched. It was a gesture that made no sense to the watching aliens. Victory should mean finishing the enemy. Dominance should mean continued aggression. But Ranger was doing something else entirely. He's guarding him, James explained quietly, making sure he's safe until someone comes to help. Texacar turned to James, his gray face now showing genuine confusion. Why? Why doesn't your creature finish what it started? Corvath is helpless, your predator has won. Kill him and claim victory. Because, James said slowly, we raised our predators to be better than that. We taught them that defeating an enemy doesn't mean destroying them. It means stopping them, then protecting them from further harm. The watching aliens couldn't process this idea. Their understanding of nature was simple. Predator hunts prey, predator kills prey, predator eats prey. This Earth animal was breaking every rule of nature they knew. Inside the dome, Corvath slowly raised his head. His whole body ached. Blood still dripped from his wounds, but he was alive. More confusing was that his attacker was still there, but not attacking. The Voxnathi tried to stand. His legs shook, but he managed to rise to a sitting position. Ranger lifted his head too, watching carefully but not threatening. For long minutes, predator and predator watched each other. Neither moved to attack. Neither showed fear anymore. Something like understanding passed between them. A recognition that they were both hunters, but hunters of very different kinds. The dome door opened finally. Medical teams from several species hurried inside. Some went to the Voxnathi to treat his wounds. Others moved toward Ranger, but the German shepherd didn't need their help. He stood up, stretched like any dog might after a nap, and walked calmly to the exit where James waited. As medical workers examined Corvath, they found interesting details. Every wound was precise, damaging enough to hurt, but not designed to kill. The bleeding had even stopped on most of them. It was as if the Earth predator had calculated exactly how much damage was needed to win without causing permanent harm. This is impossible, a medical alien said to his team. These wounds show a level of control I've never seen in predator combat. It's almost surgical. Back at the platform, James knelt down to greet Ranger. The dog's tail wagged happily as he licked his human's face. To anyone watching, he looked like any happy pet reunited with its owner. But every alien now understood this was no simple pet. The Galactic Council leader floated forward in his purple cloud. Captain Sullivan of Earth, your companion has proven himself in ways we did not expect. The Kryllox champion was defeated not just in body but in spirit. Thexkar stood silently. His perfect predator had been beaten by a creature he'd dismissed as weak. More than that, he'd been forced to watch as his understanding of hunting was completely challenged. "I have a question," said a small alien with many arms. "Why did the dog attack so carefully? He could have killed much sooner if he tried." James patted Ranger's head. "Because we taught our predators something the galaxy seems to have forgotten. Winning doesn't require killing. Protection doesn't require destruction. And the strongest hunters are those who choose when to use their strength, not those who use it constantly." The betting aliens were counting their losses. Those who had bet against Earth were now very quiet. Some were already thinking about what this meant for their own understanding of predator and prey. Korvath was being transported to medical facilities. As they carried him past the platform, the Vox Nathi's yellow eyes found Ranger. For a moment, Predator looked at Predator. Then Korvath closed his eyes and let himself be taken away for treatment. "Ambassador Thexkar," the council leader said, formally, "do you wish to challenge the result of this contest?" The Kryllox ambassador stood tall despite his shock. "No," he said slowly. "The contest was fair. Earth's predator has won." He looked at James and Ranger. "I don't understand your species yet, humans. You turn killers into guardians. You teach mercy to predators. You make the impossible seem natural." James smiled. "Maybe that's exactly why Earth belongs in the galaxy. We have much to learn from each other." As the medical teams worked on the Vox Nathi's wounds, alien scientists were already requesting meetings with the humans. They wanted to understand this Earth predator that hunted with intelligence, fought with strategy, and won with mercy. The contest was over, but the real education had just begun. The galaxy would need time to understand what humanity had brought to the stars. They would need to learn that Earth's greatest strength wasn't in its warriors or weapons. It was in the partnership between human and animal, predator and companion, hunter and friend. They would need to learn that on Earth, the most dangerous, predators were those who chose when to bite and when to protect instead. As the crowd began to leave, one question remained in every alien mind. If Earth could turn wolves into dogs, what else might they transform? And more importantly, what might they make of the galaxy itself? 3 hours after the hunt ended, representatives from over 30 species crowded the council chamber. What had started as a simple test of strength had become something much larger. The galaxy's understanding of predators had been shaken to its core. James sat at a large table with Ranger sleeping quietly at his feet. Across from him, representatives from a dozen different worlds asked questions about Earth and its strange companions. "In our world," said a silvery alien with crystal growing from its skin, "predators and prey are natural enemies. Your species has confused this with friendship?" "Not confused," James explained. "Enhanced. We saw potential predators and decided to build trust instead of weapons. Over thousands of years, we created something new. Predators who protect instead of hunt. Animals who love instead of fear." A tall blue alien shifted in his seat. "But what about those of us who still fear the Vox Nathi and other great predators? How can we learn from your wisdom?" "Start small," James suggested. "Find animals on your worlds that might bond with your people. Not to make them slaves, but to make them partners. Understanding will grow from there." In the corner of the room, Thexkar stood quietly. The proud Kryllox ambassador had changed since the contest. His aggressive stance was gone. Instead, he seemed thoughtful, studying James and Ranger with new interest. "Captain Sullivan," Thexkar finally spoke. "May I ask a personal question?" "Of course," James replied. "That technique your companion used on Korvath, the nerve hold that stopped him without killing. You taught this specifically?" James shook his head. "No. Dogs seem to know this naturally. Wolves use it to end fights within their pack without death. When they became dogs, they kept this knowledge." Thexkar nodded slowly. "We bred Vox Nathi only for killing power. We never thought to teach them mercy." It's not too late to try, James said. Amy Parker entered the chamber then, carrying a data pad. Captain, I have some interesting reports. 5 different species have asked for Earth advisors to help them study their local predators. They want to understand our approach. The Galactic Council leader, floating above in his purple cloud, spoke to the gathered crowd. Today's events have shown us all something valuable. Earth has developed a different relationship with natural law. They have not conquered nature. They have made friends with it. A small alien with many eyes raised his hand. But Earth friend human, what happens when your predators won't be friends? Surely not all can be made peaceful. True, James agreed. Some predators can't be trusted. Some will always be dangerous, but that's why we study them first. We learn their ways. We respect their power. And only after understanding do we decide how to proceed. Ranger stirred at James's feet, stretched, and lay back down. The sight made several aliens flinch. They still couldn't believe such a deadly hunter could be so calm. Ambassador Thexkar, the council leader, addressed the Krylloks. You witnessed today's events most directly. What is your recommendation for Earth's membership? Thexkar stood tall. His red skin seemed less threatening now. I originally opposed Earth's membership. I thought they were weak because they partnered with predators instead of fighting them. I was wrong. The chamber fell silent. Today I learned that understanding predators requires first understanding oneself. The Krylloks bred Voxnathi to be extensions of our own aggression. But Earth saw predators as potential allies. We made monsters. They made friends. He looked at James directly. I support Earth's full membership in the Galactic Council. More than that, I request that Earth share their wisdom with my people. The Krylloks Empire has much to learn about predators. And about ourselves. The chamber buzzed with surprised chatter. For the Krylloks to admit fault and ask for help was unprecedented. James stood up and Ranger immediately joined him at his side. We accept your proposal, Ambassador Thexkar. We would be honored to share what we know. The council leader made it official. Then let the record show. Earth is granted full membership in the Galactic Council with all rights and responsibilities. Cheers. Went up from James's crew. Amy Parker wiped away tears. Even some aliens clapped in their own ways, clicking, whistling, or waving tentacles. But remember, James said as the celebration continued, this isn't just about dogs and wolves. This is about changing how we look at everything in nature. There are predators on Earth we still fear and respect. There are dangers we can't befriend. But we've learned that understanding comes before fear. Study comes before fighting. And, sometimes, just sometimes, enemies become family. A week later, the first group arrived at Earth. 20 alien scientists came to study how humans had transformed wolves into dogs. They visited farms where herding dogs worked with sheep. They saw police dogs training to protect rather than attack. They met therapy dogs who helped sick humans feel better. Most amazing to them were the family pets, dogs who slept in houses, played with children, and seemed to understand human emotions. These aliens couldn't comprehend how such powerful predators had become such gentle companions. How long did this take? Asked the lead alien scientist, a creature with 6 legs and fur like a silver fox. About 30,000 years, James explained as they watched Ranger play fetch with a group of children. But the first steps toward friendship can happen in days. It's the mutual trust that takes generations to perfect. Back on their worlds, some species began looking at their local predators differently. The fierce jungle cats of Thylos Prime, once only hunted, were now being studied. The tentacled sea hunters of Aqua 7 were being approached with food offerings, rather than weapons. Not all attempts at friendship succeeded. Some predators remained wild and dangerous. But even those species learned better ways to coexist, understanding behavior instead of just fighting it. The greatest change came to the Krylloks Empire. Thexkar worked with James to develop new training methods for Voxnathi. They couldn't make them pets overnight, but they could teach control, communication, and selective mercy. 6 months after the contest, Korvath returned to service. The great predator still hunted for the Krylloks, but now he fought with purpose, rather than just rage. His scars had healed, but he never forgot the Earth predator who had beaten him without hate. Stories spread across the galaxy about the day Earth's pet hunted the ultimate predator. But the real story wasn't about hunting at all. It was about transformation. How one species had looked at nature's fiercest killers and seen potential friends. Years later, Earth would become known throughout the galaxy for two things: their technological achievements and their uncanny ability to befriend dangerous creatures. They became mediators in conflicts between species. They taught patience to warlike races. They showed mercy to those who knew only aggression. And everywhere they went, they often brought dogs, not as weapons or symbols of power, but as reminders that the most fearsome predators could become the most loyal friends. In the end, the galaxy learned what had taken humanity 30,000 years to understand: the line between predator and companion, between hunter and protector, between enemy and family, was never as solid as it seemed. With patience, understanding, and time, that line could be crossed. And on quiet nights aboard starships throughout the galaxy, human children would fall asleep to stories of brave Ranger, the German shepherd who showed the stars that Earth's greatest achievement wasn't conquering nature but befriending it. The contest had ended, but its lesson would live forever. When humans say a dog is man's best friend, they speak a truth that can change not just worlds, but entire galaxies. And maybe, just maybe, that friendship could teach the universe itself how to be a better place. Far across space, in the vast diplomatic archives of the Galactic Council, a single entry summarized humanity's addition to the cosmic community. Earth, a species that turned death into devotion, killers into companions, and terror into trust. They showed us that civilization's highest achievement is not defeating nature, but understanding it well enough to make it family. And in those archives, next to that entry, was a picture: a brown and black German shepherd sitting calmly beside his human friend, with the stars shining behind them. The galaxy's most peaceful predator, and the species that had taught him to be both hunter and protector, friend and guardian, predator and family. It was the beginning of a new age in the galaxy, one where understanding grew where only fear had been before. And it all started with one dog, one human, and the day they showed the universe what friendship truly meant.